Welcome to From the VC's Bookshelf, a podcast from TBR, the College System of Tennessee, the state's largest higher education system. In this series, we examine how we might re-envision the work we do and how we work together as we move into a post-pandemic world. Please join our host, Dr. Heidi Lemming, Vice Chancellor for Student Success, as she leads a live discussion with industry experts and leaders throughout our system.
Okay, we're excited to have with us our SOAR finalist for faculty member at a Tennessee College of Applied Technology. Congratulations to our finalists. The Statewide Outstanding Achievement Awards and Recognition, or SOAR celebration, recognizes individuals who have been nominated by their institutions as being among the best of the best in the categories of faculty, staff, and students. This year's finalists went through an initial interview process where they were selected as a regional winner and then moved on to our final statewide competition. In this podcast series, I'll be showcasing the regional award winners in a short interview so that listeners can learn more about the faculty, staff, and student finalists from across the TBR system. It's my hope that by learning more about the regional finalists, listeners will get a sense of the amazing stories and backgrounds of the individuals who work and learn at our institutions. So I'm excited today to have with us our TCAT faculty finalists. You all just finished your interviews with the panelists, so this podcast is being recorded prior to announcing the winner. By the time it gets released, we'll know who the winner has been crowned, who the winner that was crowned is. So let's take a few minutes, because you all are just now formally meeting each other as well, to have you introduce yourselves, and not only to each other, but to our listeners. Take maybe a couple of minutes, share a little bit about who you are, your name, your institution, what you teach. Anything else you think people would be interested in knowing, feel free to throw that in there. So who would like to get started? Anybody want to volunteer? Susan. They're all pointing at you.
Well, my name is Susan Gates, and I'm the practical nursing instructor for TCAT Murfreesboro. I've been there about 3 years this year. Prior to that, I taught for 10 years in the secondary education program at Central Magnet School in Rutherford County. And prior to that, I was a nurse, working nurse. I worked in outpatient chemotherapy with Tennessee Oncology here in Middle Tennessee, and worked there for about 8 years. And before that, we lived in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was lucky enough to be a nurse in outpatient radiation with Duke Radiation Oncology. And prior to that, we lived in Memphis, and I worked for about 4 years with the Memphis Cancer Care Center in Methodist University Hospital, working with patients on a cancer care floor and in stem cell transplants. I've done just about everything there is to do in cancer care.
Yeah.
And then I kind of wanted to transition. I love education. I want to teach my students how to take care of a patient and how to take care of them holistically. My big thing, my big takeaway, because we all can learn from books and things like that, but I want them to remember that the patient is a human being, and that's who they care for, not a disease or a condition or a room number or a medical chart number. They care for that patient, and that's number one.
Yeah, great. Well, congratulations to you for being here. Excited to hear from you a little bit more today. Janaria, you can introduce yourself.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Janaria McIntosh, and I am from TCAT Chattanooga. I am the daytime bar ring instructor. I own a nonprofit where we give away free haircuts and free hairstyles every first and third Saturday to the girls and boys, any school-age kids. And I think it just allows my students, a chance to give back, to understand, the principalities of being able to help someone else. You're blessed to help, you're not blessed to keep it to you. So I just try my best to show them that. I've graduated about maybe 17 students, and right now 15 of them already are licensed.
That's great.
So that's the best part about it for me. They're getting it and understanding, the aspect of obtaining a license. And they're able to perfect their career. So, yes, ma'am.
That's great. Thanks for being here. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keesha.
My name is Keesha Klinck, and I am the Administrative Office Technology Instructor at TCAT Crump, a little bitty town. I've been in education also about 3 years. I was in corporate before. I was a non-traditional student going back to school with a family and 2 kids and teenage kids and husband at home, and we were not financially stable. And it was a time in my life when I could go back to school and show my kids the difference that an education, a skill, a trade, something that would help them. They were in an influential time, 10, 12 years old, to see that. And now they are both continuing their educations. They're in post-secondary education. And so I am a firm believer in that everyone has a skill, something they're passionate about, and that they need to develop that skill. And that will help them go a long way in life.
Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about what your program is if people don't know what that covers?
Generally, my basic answer is just the business classes, but it's everything. We do Microsoft Office certifications. We teach general customer service, business communications, accounting, QuickBooks. I actually have 4 diploma paths. The first 2 trimesters are the same, and then 4 diploma paths. We have a medical office administration, general office administration, accounting office administration, and financial services. And financial services is more towards the banking industry of the tellers, the entry-level positions into a bank.
Sure. Okay, great. The other 2, it's pretty self-explanatory, I think, when we're talking about barbering and also with nursing, right? So I thank you for giving a little more on that one, Keesha. All right. So, one of the things that I think would be interesting to our listeners to hear, and you've already alluded to this a little bit in some of your responses, like Keesha was talking about, having her students get jobs right away, is just why you like working at a TCAT, right? And maybe, again, we are trying to give a flavor to folks about how a TCAT might be different than other types of institutions. So you might also want to think about how that plays into why you like to work there. So Janaria, you were talking about, again, that placement piece with your students. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
I have to break it down. I learned the first week in class. I've also been an instructor about 3 years now. And in my first week in class, I learned that it's a little bit deeper than just giving them that skill. You have to tap into who they are, what they have going on at home, what help they may need, things of that sort. Before you can actually send them on a journey, So it's been great to work with the diversity of students that we have at TCAT, because you get to come in contact with all sorts of students from different walks of life, and they all have the same opportunity to make it to that point. So it's just about breaking it down from each individual, treating them all the same and giving them all the same access and allowing them to do what they would like to do with it. So I think TCAT Chattanooga provides a wide range of options. We have thousands of programs that you can sign up for, just to build a career within 2 years, So we have options and open door policies to anyone. So, yes, ma'am.
And you probably never thought you'd be a teacher when you got into this.
I did not. I was a barber. I lived in Atlanta for about 9 years, so I received my barbering license there. And then I moved back probably about 2016, 17, something like that. And I was working in a barbershop, but I just knew that I didn't want to be in a barber chair behind the actual barber chair for the next 20, 30 years, So I wanted to do something that I still loved and had passion for, and be able to give back and help someone at the same time. So teaching was just like the perfect option, the next level. So yeah, it's been amazing to watch my students grow. I was telling them in the beginning of the interview, I just left a student. He, when we were in class, he had a drawing of a utensil that he wanted to create, and create it into a tool that we would be able to use further on in barbering. Well, he's graduated. He has actually made that tool and created it. And he called me and he's like, Ms. J, I would like for you to come, and stand beside me while I sell my products at a booth, at a barbering show. And it was just amazing just to remember, him having that piece of paper where he started at and me giving him that push to, you can make that happen. You can really, make that big. And he took it, and we were smiling just because they were coming up, and people really were needing the tool that he created, you know. So just to know that TCAT provided that opportunity for him was just amazing.
Yeah, it was like a launching pad, and he was
Yes,
able to be much more entrepreneurial with that degree than
yes,
later.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And Susan, just very similar, right? Like you probably never thought you were getting into teaching, but as you were working in your profession, you know, again, you were talking about how you want students to really kind of treat their patients individually with care, and that's kind of driving you in your
Definitely.
work.
And working in oncology, you know, we see the good days are great, but those bad days where you have to put a patient into hospice, you know, that person needs more than just those technical skills. They need that heart from a person. So I hope to, you know, incorporate that into my students' learning. We too license, you know, just like probably everybody else sitting here. And we've done great with that. Our students all have jobs. You all know there's nursing shortages everywhere. So we have more facilities calling to come in and do talks to the students than we have places to give them. Like even with job fairs, it's just overflowing, which is great. That's a good problem to have. I try also, like you commented about giving back to the community. Near and dear to my heart, back from secondary education, is the American Red Cross and blood donations. With COVID, it just impacted that industry so much. They are just so short still. So we do blood drives at TCAT Murfreesboro. And if you're an instructor, you know it's really hard to give up a day of instruction. We're an accelerated program, so that makes it even harder. But it's a great experience for the students to go, and they work the blood drive. I'm a little extra, so we do themed blood drives, which all the participants love that. We did luau theme the last time. And I actually have parents from my central days that come in and help decorate, like it's a kind of a big party kind of thing. But it shows the students that, you know, you do give back to the community. We do other things with like nursing homes and give shoebox projects and just fill them with things that patients need or want. Throughout the year, we do things like that. And, you know, TCAT it's just a great stepping stone for so many students. As an LPN program, they can, in a year, get out, get a good job, good pay, but it's a stepping stone. If they want to go further, they can. And a lot of institutions provide tuition reimbursement. My son is actually a graduate from TCAT. He graduated central sterile processing at TCAT Murfreesboro. Then he went on to surgical technician. He graduated that in December and negotiated a great job and a salary at St. Thomas Rutherford. And he still wants to go further, you know, and he loves TCAT. I think what we give our students at TCAT is a home atmosphere. We care because when they succeed, TCAT succeeds, and I don't care which TCAT you're at. Just word of mouth, you know, about our programs and what they can offer to students. You can't get any better advertisement than a former student.
Yeah, that's great. A lot of things resonating with you.
Right?
Very similar.
Yeah.
Everything she said was totally correct.
I agree with Janaria a lot on that. It's an individual education. One thing that it does allow us to do is get to know our students on a personal level, to know their struggles, to know and to help them find avenues to succeed. First thing I tell my students when they walk into class is, if you stick with me and stick through this, we'll get through this together. That life is going to kick you. It will kick you. It will kick you hard. I said, but that's going to show how resilient you are and how determined you are to get this. And so if you stick with me, we will find a way for you to get through.
Yeah.
Every story, every student has a different story, different background. I have single moms. I have single dads. I have, and it's an office position. Those are typically female roles. I have a 30% enrollment of male students right now.
Yeah.
And so just branching out and going out into the high schools, the dual enrollments, career fairs, telling women that they can do welding if they want to, if they want to go to barbering, if they want to do machine tool. And males, if you want to come to me, come on, I will help you through. And one thing about a TCAT is a lot of the skills. It's not it's hands-on. And not everybody can read a book and learn. I mean, we all do have things that we have to try to read and struggle through for the academic side of it.
Sure.
But it's a skill. It's a hands-on skill. Not every student is designed to be an academic student. And so when we figure out those things and help our students through, I mean, I had a single mom apply for a scholarship, and I had to prove that I knew her story. And it was that some days I don't eat lunch because I'm trying to figure out if if I've got gas to come to school or if I'm going to be able to feed my son.
Right.
I said, and so at that moment, I was like you in a nonprofit, I was like, we've got to figure out a way to help these people. I mean, on campus, you cannot think, you cannot concentrate, you cannot do your best if you're worried about being hungry and where your next meal is coming from.
Right.
So we started a food pantry on campus. I'm really excited about that. I've also, we do Angel Tree. So last year, 2 of our students were selected to help Christmas gifts for their students and for our families of students. And probably shouldn't be telling this, but our faculty is the one that adopted them, faculty and staff. And so we are a big family, and that's that. I agree with that completely. And everybody's story is different. You have to motivate them. Not everyone has had a good background, a good supportive home, and sometimes that's the best we can do is just be their cheerleader and show them the possibilities that they can do.
Yeah. And what I liked about your introduction, Keesha, is you talked about how you kind of came to the realization that you needed to have a life-changing event by going back to school as well, right?
I'm telling my age, but I was in my 30s and went back to college and started again. And I mean, it was really, I think it was a real eye-opener, the difference that my family has seen, my kids have seen, the lifestyle that we were living there. I mean, family, state assistants, different things going on, and I'm probably sharing too much. My husband may get mad at me. But I mean, and now we are self-sufficient.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was able to buy both my kids a car to go to college in. You know, if I had not went back to school and got my education and been able to contribute the way I'm doing, I don't know that the safety of my kids, if they'd be able to get home when they needed to. If you and so it's just a completely different.
Yeah, and that's
scenario.
really a message that I hope our listeners take away. So we're talking with faculty. You have lived lives too. You know what that feels like to have challenge, and you're sharing that with the students that you work with. You're embracing that and helping them to work through those challenges, even as a faculty member. It's not like, you're removed from that. And clearly, a lot of conversation even right now about how the economy is so strong and people thinking they don't need to go to college, they can just go into a job. But you're making the case for, those things can change, jobs can change. So think about your long term, right? And how, like you were saying, this is changing your entire family's trajectory by you going back to college.
And that job you're going into may be an entry level job. And without the education, can you move up?
Right. And it's never too late because you were in your 30s. We had a hand over here. Susan was older.
Let me just say, my students have just watched me. I'm going to tell my age. I'm 56 years old, and I just completed my BSN. So they also see that that's possible. You're never too old to learn.
Right.
And
Exactly.
TCAT changes families, like you said. It changes the whole family dynamic. And TCAT's so open to, we've had students that do not have the best of backgrounds if you looked at it, but they're very open and honest because they want to change that. They want to be the first in their family to make that difference, and we can offer that.
Because of that open door policy. Some of them have had, in some of their backgrounds is choices that they've made, but they've realized that their choices were not correct, and so they're trying to better themselves and better their lives.
Well, that's a learning opportunity too.
Right.
When you come to the point that you realize that I need to do something different.
It's not, and it's not. You can be successful without having a bachelor's or a BSN,
Yes.
or it's you make yourself successful, and you just have to surround yourself with the right people. And I'm hoping that I'm one of the right people.
Yeah.
I know several of the people at the Crump are the right people. Sounds like y'all are the right people.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the biggest thing is that we can be their cheerleaders to help them get through, to give them the confidence that they need, especially like yours that made the new tool, And
I think that we, being just prime examples, you being able to tell your students that you went back to get yours, you being able to say that you went back to get yours, me being able to say that I didn't ever really pay attention when I was in it. So it took me longer to get it, giving them that, right here is the right now. These 1,500 hours is the hours that you need to begin. You don't wait till after the 1,500 hours and then push hard for it. You push hard within the 15, and then before you know it, everything, will lay itself down.
Right.
So it's just like us being the full examples means way more to them. And everybody may think that I am, 20, 21. But I have you all to know that I just turned 40. So I have definitely lived and had some experiences myself and some trial and errors that I feel like I didn't have the advantage of TCAT back then. You know what I mean? So to be a part of TCAT now and being able to reach out and give students the opportunity to be a part of TCAT, it just means everything. So I definitely agree with the ladies.
I tell my students all the time that if I would have thought about TCAT or even looked into TCAT before I went back to get my education, that I'd have probably been sitting in that seat because I could get what I needed in a year and get out in the workplace and show and prove what I could do, and then take, if I was wanting to move up and get more education, then I could have a stable work job financially and go back to school, do a couple of classes at a time, and move my way up that way. Because, yes, history's important. Some of these ethics classes are important, that kind of thing. But it's not what employers need all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not real life, you know.
Right.
Real life hit these students, and we have to give them more than just that skill, you know. So helping them cope with life, helping them learn how to, not be quick to anger, or, it's not that serious. You don't have to, take it there. You can actually have a conversation with her versus just saying, you took my stuff or you used my, we have to break down certain barriers in order for them to be successful. So for me, it's been kind of making sure that they have morals to go with this lesson.
Exactly.
They have integrity to go with this lesson. They have self-perseverance to go with this lesson. You know what I mean? Making them understand that will open up so many more doors with the education, because that can take you further than the education.
And I think, too, TCAT, it's a hidden jewel. It really is.
It is.
Not every child is geared to go to a 4-year university.
Exactly.
My child started it. He was very smart in school. Top of his class, went to a 4-year institution out of state, which he didn't listen to mom. But anyway, so he stayed until COVID hit. And he was just miserable. He didn't like it. He didn't understand, like you were talking, he didn't understand why he had to have English or, all these classes. And he worked for about a year. I brought him a couple of brochures home from TCAT, and he fell in love with that program, And in a year, he's out in a wonderful career, making good money. And if he wants, he can continue. If not, it's great what he has right now. And TCAT offered that.
See, and right opposite, my son's in a 4-year institution. He loves it, but he's talking about this summer coming back and taking some courses at TCAT. He's interested in cars, and he's like, well, if I can do the body work and collision repair, then that's going to save me some money,
Yeah.
And so he's interested in doing stuff like that. And so who knows? He may be back at TCAT and doing classes in the summer, because with him being an education major, he ain't got nothing to do in the summer.
Yeah. Well, and of course, we're talking about TCATs. We don't want to dissuade folks from thinking about 4 years or pursuing additional degrees or anything like that. It's all important. Every sector provides a service that's unique to whatever the individual is pursuing.
Right.
So clearly, we want to also say that.
Absolutely.
And I did not pressure any of my panelists in sharing their age. I want that known as well. But you all have had some life experience, which helps the students because you are serving in a mentoring role as a faculty member
I
as well.
didn't share mine, but I'm in between y'all.
Hey, I earned every year of it.
Yeah, me too.
But I
wanted
think that's
to
important,
piggyback.
right?
It
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
It is. I wanted to piggyback off what they were saying. I have a student that he ran through those 1,500 hours like he was ready. He wanted it. He got everything he needed within those 1,500 hours. We have graduation on April the 28th, and he has already passed his licensure.
Awesome.
So he's going to be able to walk across the
Nice.
stage with his license, already working in a shop, already headed towards, and it hadn't even been a year. We were saying a year, but, it depends on their focus.
It does,
It
yes.
doesn't have to be a year, so we just set them up for it. Then, the
Right.
rest will it's just amazing to me that he had that push to make that happen,
Right. And to be clear to our listeners, just again, so our technical colleges use a clock hour system.
Yeah.
So when she says 1,500, we're talking about that's the number of clock hours that
Yes.
is required for that program. It does differ based on the program.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And of course, as you mentioned, they could go through those hours more quickly than some other students in some
Yes,
cases and finish more
yes,
quickly.
yes.
So it's about the time.
That is something to be said, getting him through in 15 hours, because I have a cosmetology license, and that's a rough 1,500 hours.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's a lot to jam
yeah.
in within
Yeah.
1,500 hours, you know?
So they were
have to
very
learn-
motivated.
They have to take tests, book work, practical, actually hands-on. So, yeah, it's a lot, but you have to be ready for it. So when you're ready for it, you receive it all, and then you can go
Yeah.
forward. So
Great.
it's just amazing.
Thanks for sharing that story. We like
ma'am.
hearing about the personal stories that all three of you shared today. So those are great examples.
Well, that's why we're here, is for our students. That's why we do what we do, is the love for the students, and to see them succeed and to see them do great things, because little ripples make big waves.
Yeah.
And
So-
that continues after they graduate.
I know.
They still come back. If they've had a bad day on a night shift or days, whatever, I get phone calls. Can I come see you? Can I talk to you? Absolutely.
Most
come on.
definitely.
Forming that relationship. So let's also talk about, we've been talking a lot about students, which is really important, but there's also that piece of you having relationship with your community partners, particularly in the profession that you're hoping to help students get into. So would love to hear your thoughts about, if you were speaking to an economic development board or a group, what would you tell them about how you kind of grow your own workforce in the areas that you're living in right now? How they can do that to support the work you're doing as a faculty member?
Well, in Rutherford County, we work right now with the Chamber of Commerce and Workforce Development, and we have members from our healthcare facilities on board, which is great because at the meetings they can tell us, this is what we want, this is what we need. For years and years, what they needed from students was there were soft skills, how to shake a hand. That's kind of gotten better. So now they are looking, we really need them to have good technical skills. As a nurse, I don't know about you, but I'd love to have a student that knew how to start an IV. So learning those and working with Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce has given us like a foot in the door. So we do work with them. We work with NHC as a huge healthcare facility here in the area, and they are so responsive to our needs as we are theirs. Their CNAs know we have a program. They promote it. They work with their schedules to try to get them the days they need to come to us, which is great. You all know we have that nursing shortage. So as long as we can keep, facilities supplying us with students, also the high schools, you got to have a partnership with those the health science classes, and get those students in. Because they're familiar with the material already. So we need to be going into schools, talking to not only classes, but clubs that sponsor those type of students, and just working with all the healthcare facilities in our area for me.
That's great. Other examples of partnership?
I feel like that, coming from my side, which is not healthcare as much, talking to workforce development and chambers and that kind of thing, and getting industries on board with internships. Even small business owners, plumbing and electrical, residential plumbing and electrical, those type of skills. There's so much that can be learned outside of the classroom, troubleshooting, those kind of things that a book can't teach you, because you have to figure out how to do that on the job site. Same thing with administrative office, customer service calls. Your computer goes haywire, you may have to troubleshoot it a little bit yourself, different things like that, to give them real life work opportunities while they are still in school, or even after they are out of school, taking a chance on our students, because they do have the skills, but they just need to grow a little bit more with the experience. I walked out with a 4-year degree and didn't have a bit of experience, and so finding a job was difficult because you didn't have that experience. So I think giving the students the experience, which we also create inside of what we do because of different opportunities that we are able to give our students. One of the things at our TCAT is I noticed our receptionist didn't have coverage during lunch from 12 to 1. And so we set up a program where one of our students goes and answers the phone.
Sure, give them that experience right there on
customers
campus.
come in, and it's part of their curriculum. It's part of their work. They get credit hours for it, the whole 9 yards. But it doesn't take away from their other classroom time either. Mm-hmm. And so I think those opportunities for students is what we need to help develop our workforce. If you're wanting that type of student, bring them in and train them. Don't just expect them to walk in that way.
Janaria, I really like the fact that you're taking your students out to do free haircuts, because that is a way to give them some experience, but they're also giving back to the community as well.
Yeah, and I was going to say I wouldn't necessarily have a speaking saying to them, to the economy, but I would definitely have examples. I would rather bring the students that I have saw transform, or I have already watched, witness the transformation from where they begin to where we are now, and have them to speak back and give back on their personal experiences. Because I think it's easy coming from me just because I am the instructor, but it's way more powerful receiving it from another student that's in your actual shoes, in your thought frame,
Yeah.
So we do a lot of community work. We really do, outside of my nonprofit. That's just my personal thing. But the students, they're allowed to participate in that. But we go to the community kitchen every week, just to get them to understand, that no matter where you are in life, you still need help. You still need somebody to be kind to you. You still need a smile. You still need, the simplest things, So the community kitchen is that for them. And then we go to Howard High School, which is one of the popular high schools in our city. And we are able to groom the younger men for them to understand that you don't have to, do all of that you see that's visible. You can walk this line right here. I don't allow any sagging. I don't allow any foul language, any of that stuff. We walk right in there and we give them the example that we want them to be, versus just expecting them to learn how to be that. We give them that example.
Right.
So with us going to those schools and going to the Boys and Girls Club in the summertime, it really gives them an actual visual of what we're saying that you should want to be, or giving them something to look up to, because I don't think really the kids really understand the dynamic. When you throw football at them and when you throw basketball at them, those are like, ooh, yeah, I'm gonna be the best in those. But I want them to know that you can be the best coming from TCAT. You can be the best barber that you want to be for your kids, your family, for whoever you need to be further on. So examples for me would be my everything. I had a student that he's been in my class. He's in the second semester. When we was talking about the clock hours, he's in second semester, so he's halfway through. And he was just telling us the other day that when he was incarcerated 3 years prior, he was able to receive his GED while he was incarcerated. And he knew that he had to receive that then in order to be able to come to barber school, because you have to be able to, sign up with that. And it just touched me in a way that, to know that you want it and you're going to do whatever you have to do. So you have to have help after you've done your part. So that was his part to get the GED. So now it's TCAT's part and my instructor part to send him on his way,
Yeah.
So it's just been a blessing to be able to help guide
Right.
whatever
different path.
direction.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Give that a
ma'am.
different path.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's a great way to end our conversation today, because I think that is, again, at the heart of why you all are so effective in your faculty role, is serving in those mentoring capacities for our students. So again, congratulations for making it this far in the process. Look forward to seeing who the winner is tomorrow, and looking forward to sharing this podcast with others that can hear about the wonderful work that you're doing as faculty members.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Congrats, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this edition of From the VC's Bookshelf, brought to you by TBR, the College System of Tennessee, powering the state's economy and changing the lives of thousands of graduates, starting successful careers each year. To learn more about upcoming book selections or to register to attend discussions live, visit tbr.edu/bookshelf.